Guys, the news out today is that used car prices are having record drops, at least on the wholesale level. Yet, new car sales for 2022 are at the lowest level since 2011. Do prices have a lot more room to fall still? And if you are in the market for a new or used car, should you wait or buy now? Also, if you're looking for a used car, I'll talk about some of the best ways to buy a used car without getting ripped off. So let's take a look at some of the numbers. So here you see used car prices record the largest annualized decline in series history. So the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index, the MUVVI, which tracks the auction prices of used cars, plunged the most on record in December from a year ago. So even though the MUVVI increased 0.8% in December from November and rose slightly to the index level of 219.3, it was down 14.9% from a year ago. And that's the largest annualized decline in the series history. So here's a chart of the MUVVI index with the year-over-year increases and decreases. And you see after COVID, it was increasing at crazy rates. And now it is decreasing more than minus 10% or so. And if you break it down by car category, the category with the biggest year-over-year percentage loss is the SUV/CUV index, possibly because of the increase in gas prices, where the compact cars only lost 13.5%, SUVs lost 16.6%. And things that are work-related, like pickup trucks and vans, lost the littlest, like around 12%. And why are used car prices falling? Because the new car inventory is finally starting to build, and that's producing momentum in new retail sales, but that momentum appears to be at the expense of used retail. So people were substituting used cars for new cars because there were not enough being produced because of the shortages, and now the bottlenecks are easing, so there's more new inventory, so less retail demand for used cars. So here's a look at the Manheim Used Vehicle Index. It is down about 35 points from its high. Most of that falling in 2022 here. So does that mean a used car is about 15% cheaper right now? Not really, because retail pricing has not declined as quickly as wholesale prices. So Cox reports that the average listing price of a used vehicle was $27,500 in October, down less than 0.5% from the beginning of the year. In other words, the wholesale prices are coming down, but the dealers aren't passing those savings along. They are keeping them as their profits. That will last until they have too much inventory and can't sell it, and then they will have to lower prices eventually. So they say they're not wanting to sell at trow prices. That's why we're not seeing the prices decline so much at retail. And so they say the number of sales declined 1% in November from October, and we're down 10% from a year earlier. So less people are buying used cars. So the prices are going to have to come down eventually, even at the retail level, even though right now it's just at the wholesale level. So the shortage that the automakers have been having because of semiconductor chip shortages and other supply chain issues were pushing many new vehicle buyers into the used car market. But with the shortage in new cars easing, it is driving away people from the used car market. And so they say the used car market was on pace to finish the year down more than 12% from 40.6 million in 2021. And this 40 million is about what the used car market is in normal times. A 12% drop is about 5 million. So about 35 million used cars sold in 2022. How many new cars sell a year? Well, new cars had their worst sales year in more than a decade. So for 2022, they estimate that 13.7 to 13.9 million new cars were sold, which is about 8 to 9% less than 2021 and the lowest level since 2011, when sales were recovering from the Great Recession. And so a typical year for new auto sales is about 17 million. And if you look at this chart here, going back to 2002, It was about 17 million before the great financial crisis, and then finally rebounded back there around 2015 and dropped after the pandemic. And now we are at levels from around 2011. So while used car prices may be coming down, the problem is that interest rates for used cars have been skyrocketing to levels, again, not seen since around 2010. So if you are using a car loan to buy a used car right now, you are most likely paying more than you would have paid even last year, even though used car prices are supposed to be coming down, because the interest you're paying, the difference between paying 4% or so to now paying about 7% on your car loan means that it's probably going to cost you more for the life of the car loan that you have. So used cars were going up in price because of the shortage in new cars. And because of that shortage, a lot of manufacturers were only making more high-end optioned cars, meaning fully loaded, and less of their low-margin fleet cars that they sold to governments and car rental companies. Because when you know that you can only make so many cars, you're going to make the highest margin cars you can make. So while there is still more demand than supply, the manufacturers are catching up, and they will eventually start making more cars than they have demand for, possibly go into the bullwhip effect like you saw with the retailers like Walmart and Target, that they had a shortage, so they over-ordered, and then they had too many things that they couldn't sell and had to discount to sell it. I wouldn't be surprised if the new car manufacturers do something similar, but we are not at that level yet. So it's just like the housing market. When you have a market of multiple buyers bidding way above asking price, it's not a normal situation, and it will not last long. Those people that got caught up in the bidding frenzy last year may already be regretting it because their house may be lower now than it was a year ago. So the same thing is likely to happen to used cars when the manufacturers catch up with demand. So what do you do if you need a new car right now? Well, there's not a lot you can do except shop around through multiple dealers and buy the car based on the price of the car, not the monthly payment. Salespeople know that people shop by the monthly payment, so they can give you a horrible deal, but still meet your target monthly payment by stretching out the payment to 7 or more years. So don't fall for this. Get the purchase price first, and then figure out what the payment will be based on the interest rate and the length of the loan. Remember, the easier they make it for you to get into a car, the more you're usually paying for it in the long run. Now, if you want to buy a used car, you have a better chance of getting a deal if you're willing to put in some effort. For one, do not buy from a dealer and do not get a loan if you can help it. The profits of the dealer and the loan company make up a big portion of the car you are buying. So an $8,000 car at the dealer probably costs them $5,000. And with the interest and fees you may end up paying over the life of the loan, that may come out to like $12,000 for a $5,000 car. But if you can cut them out, then you can get more car for your money. Stick to private sellers on places like cars.com, Craigslist, or Facebook, or something like that. Then go to Kelley Blue Book or KBB.com and figure out what the car you are looking for is worth if you were to trade it into a dealer, buy it from a private party, and buy it from retail. Expect to pay more than the dealer trade-in price, but less than or about equal to the private party price. Let's take a look at an example. So go to kbb.com, click on car values, my car's value. So let's look at a 5-year-old Toyota Camry with average 12,000 miles a year or 60,000 miles over 5 years. And let's just say it's the middle of the road LE sedan, price with standard equipment, typical color, gray, and say it is good condition, the average condition of a 5-year-old car, let's say. So here they say the trade-in value, if you were to trade this car into a dealer, they would pay you between $14,200 and $15,600, or an average of $14,900. But if you had to buy it off a private party, or if you were selling it yourself as a private party seller, you would get somewhere between 15.6 and 17, or about average of 16.5. There's not a big difference here. It's about 1,600. But what they don't show you, and they used to show you, is the retail price of that car. And so if a dealer is buying it for 15, you can believe they're selling it for about 18, 19, 20, something along those lines. When you add to that the dealer fees and the interest on the loan, there is a big difference between what you pay buying from a private party and what you'll pay buying it from retail from a dealer with a loan. So not many people have $15,000 cash to buy a used car, so you might want to look at an older car like a 2012 Toyota Camry, let's say. And here KBB is saying a used one is about $9,500, but the trade-in value is about $7,400, or anywhere from $68 to $81. The private party is about $8,800, and let's see what they're actually selling for or trying to sell for on cars.com. So there's 687 of them for sale, a 2012 Camry. The lowest price, this is an ad, starts at $5,000 for a 210,000 mile Camry from a private seller. Okay, if you sort by highest, it goes to dealers trying to sell a 2012 Camry with 58,000 miles for $18,000, and that's Carvana. So they might be sitting on this for a while. You see Carvana, CarMax. So that's what happens when you go and buy from these highly advertised dealers and all this stuff. They have high-priced cars compared to what you can get from a private seller. So let's see, private seller and online seller. I don't know what an online seller is. Does that mean it's still a dealer or what? But lowest price. So you see 5,000 goes right to 10,000, 11,000, 12,000. So here's a private seller, 12,000 for 122,000 miles. And another one very similar. Here's another one very similar. So these KBB numbers are not that accurate, because this is what even private sellers with 140,000 miles are asking for their cars. But you'd be better off trying to negotiate with a private seller than one of these big box car dealer places. So just looking at what's out there based on Kelley Blue Book and cars.com, what they say it's worth and what people are still asking and dealers are still asking, it seems to me that used car prices are still way too high and have a lot more room to drop. So if you could hold off from buying a car for a while and just save up your cash to get some money together, so possibly you can pay for a car in cash in a year or so when prices become more reasonable, and the dealers pass on these wholesale prices that they're seeing discounted now to the retail buyers eventually. Hope you like this one. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.